Imagine taking your phone's do not disturb feature, pulling it completely out of the digital world and just dropping it right into the middle of your living room.
Oh, I love that visual.
Right, like you just flip a switch and suddenly you are completely insulated from the demands, the notifications, and just the sheer noise of everyday life.
Which we all desperately need right now.
Absolutely, and that is exactly the mission of today's deep dive. We are unpacking this really comprehensive guide on how to take a completely mundane, easily overlooked corner of your home and actually engineer it into a physical and mental sanctuary.
A sacred space.
Exactly, a sacred space. We're going to explore the environmental psychology behind why this works, the biological triggers that lower your cortisol, and the specific step-by-step architecture of setting this up. So, okay, let's unpack this, because the phrase sacred space immediately conjures up images of like grand cathedrals, right?
Or ancient mountaintops, or those really expensive dedicated yoga studios.
Yeah, exactly. But the reality we are looking at today is highly personal and surprisingly adaptable. I mean, for you listening, it could literally be a small shelf in your hallway, or even just a temporary 2-foot square on a yoga mat. It's really not about architectural grandeur at all.
No, not at all. It doesn't require square footage. It requires intention. Because we are not talking about interior design here. We are talking about cognitive and emotional regulation.
Which is a huge distinction.
It really is. Creating this boundary in your home is fundamentally an act of taking control of your environment. From a neurological standpoint, designating a highly specific area for peace or reflection is a way of giving your nervous system a predictable physical cue.
Like a cue that it's safe to drop its defenses.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It actively interrupts those chronic stress cycles we all experience by signaling to the parasympathetic nervous system that the threat has passed. You're safe.
So it's effectively a biological trigger. But I mean, to build that trigger, there has to be a clear distinction between what is sacred and what is just mundane. Because my living room sofa is incredibly comfortable, but I definitely wouldn't call sitting on it a profound act of mindfulness while I'm binge watching TV.
No, probably not.
So looking at the foundational concepts here, a sacred space requires 4 specific pillars. First, a distinct intention. Second, a strict separation from daily chaos, like a boundary.
A boundary is crucial, yes.
Third, symbolic meaning. And fourth, it has to act as a focal point for your energy. And the guide says these spaces generally fall into 3 categories. Public spaces, like a temple. Personal spaces, like a dedicated corner of your bedroom. And temporary spaces, which you consecrate just for a specific period of time before packing them away.
And of those 4 pillars, the boundary is the most vital one. A sacred space has to be sharply distinct from the regular, everyday chaos of your life.
Right.
Whether that dividing line is a physical piece of furniture, maybe a rug, or just an energetic understanding, it serves as a threshold.
That threshold is exactly like that spatial do not disturb sign I mentioned. It is a signal to your brain that you are entering a completely different mode of operating.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here is the sheer psychological weight of that physical separation. By dedicating a space solely for self-care or emotional processing or spiritual practice, you are essentially leveraging classical conditioning.
Like Pavlov's dogs, but for relaxing.
Exactly like that. You are training your brain so that the visual input of that specific corner bypasses your conscious thought and goes straight to your amygdala to say, relax.
Wow.
So you don't have to spend 20 minutes doing deep breathing exercises to calm down. The environment actually does the heavy lifting for you.
That's amazing.
Because your brain has associated that specific geometry of your home with peace. Your heart rate begins to drop the very moment you cross the boundary.
It outsources the effort of relaxing to your environment. That really makes establishing the foundation critical. And starting this process isn't about going to a boutique and buying a bunch of aesthetic decorations.
Oh, definitely not. Please don't start by shopping.
Right. Step 1 is that you must first give the space a job.
A job is exactly what it is. The absolute bedrock of this process is setting an intention. And this requires some genuine self-reflection. You need to sit down and ask yourself some highly specific questions.
Like what?
Like, what do I need more of in my life right now? Is it absolute silence? Is it creative focus? And conversely, what do I need a container to release?
Oh, I see.
Like, is it the feeling of being constantly overwhelmed by your career, or is it grief?
So based on those answers, you assign the space a core purpose.
Exactly.
It might be a sanctuary just for de-stressing, or it could be a container for emotional healing,
Yeah.
a safe place to process anxiety without judgment.
Right.
It might be an altar for honoring loved ones or ancestors, or it could even be a hub for manifestation and creativity where you visualize your goals.
Yes, all of those are valid jobs.
But once that purpose is chosen, it has to be distilled into an intention statement. And the source has a very strict rule here. It must use positive present tense language.
This is a sticking point for a lot of people.
Yeah, because, for example, instead of saying, I want this space to stop my stress, you are instructed to say, this is a space of deep peace. And I have to push back on this a little bit.
Go for it.
If I'm dealing with a toxic workplace, I am stressed. That's just a fact.
Of course.
So isn't changing stop my stress to this is a space of peace just playing like semantic word games with yourself?
I hear that a lot.
Yeah.
But this raises an important question about how human cognition and the reticular activating system in our brains actually function.
Okay, the RAS.
Right. It sounds like a word game, but cognitive framing is literally the difference between a space that works and a space that fails. When you say, I want this space to stop my stress, the focal point, the anchor word for your brain is still stress.
Oh, wow. I didn't think of it that way.
Yet you are keeping yourself in a hypervigilant state, scanning your environment for the very thing you are trying to fight.
So you are building a fortress to defend against an attack rather than building a garden to relax in.
Precisely. That's a great way to put it. Focusing on the presence of peace, rather than the absence of stress, shifts your mental energy from a defensive reactive posture to a creative proactive one.
That makes total sense.
The intention statement acts as a magnet. It becomes the guiding principle for every subsequent decision. If your intention is, this is a sanctuary for deep peace, you naturally filter out colors, objects, or activities that contradict that feeling.
So with that proactive intention locked in, you need to find the physical real estate and prepare the canvas.
The fun part.
Yeah. Finding the right spot relies heavily on intuition and natural elements. You basically walk around your home looking for a natural pull. Maybe it's a quiet corner near a window where you get morning sunlight.
Which represents the element of fire, by the way.
Right. Or a spot with good airflow, representing the element of air. But once you claim that real estate, you have to execute a very deliberate two-part clearing process.
You can't skip this.
Right. The first part is physical decluttering, removing everything that doesn't serve the intention. And this physical act of cleaning, dusting, sweeping is actually treated as a somatic grounding practice. It is the physical manifestation of making room in your life.
It prepares the mind for the second phase, which is energetic clearing.
And this energetic clearing is totally like clearing the cache on your computer browser.
I love this analogy.
It's so true. When a browser gets sluggish because of all the invisible background files hoarding memory, you have to wipe out the hidden, stagnant junk so the new programming, which is your intention, can actually run smoothly.
That analogy perfectly captures the mechanics of it. You are wiping the slate clean of previous emotional residue. And the methods for doing this are deeply rooted in historical and anthropological practices.
Like what kind of practices?
Take smudging, for instance. Lighting white sage or Palo Santo and wafting the smoke. Or using sound waves.
Oh, like singing bowls.
Exactly. Using a singing bowl or chimes isn't just some symbolic gesture. On a physical acoustic level, the vibrations of the sound waves actually alter the air pressure in the room.
Really?
Yeah. In the study of somatics, we see how sound organizes matter. Ringing a bell physically disrupts stagnant air patterns and breaks up dense energy.
That is wild. And then there is the passive method of using salt, right? Placing a small bowl of salt in the corners of the space for 24 to 48 hours to absorb negative energy.
Which has a fascinating scientific basis as well. Salt is highly hygroscopic. It literally draws in and absorbs moisture from the air.
Oh, right, because it prevents decay.
Exactly. Because it preserves food, it became the ultimate universal symbol for purity and protection across almost every ancient culture.
Wow, that's deeply ingrained in us.
It is. By placing it in your space, you are anchoring that deep-seated psychological association of sterility and cleanliness. You let it sit, it absorbs whatever's stagnant, and then you just dispose of it.
Okay, so the cache is completely cleared. We have a pristine blank canvas. The next step is bringing the intention to life physically through furnishings.
Right.
And the framework here relies heavily on balancing the 5 elements. You anchor the space with earth, using live plants, sand, or heavy grounding stones. You bring in air with incense or an essential oil diffuser.
Yes.
Fire is introduced through a lit candle, which historically represents transformation and focus. Water might be a small fountain to represent emotional flow. And the fifth element is spirit, or your personal connection.
Like specific photographs, journals, or talismans that mean something to you.
Exactly.
These elements act as physical anchors for abstract concepts.
But here's where it gets really interesting. When you look at how this philosophy applies to the entire home, it goes far beyond just putting a plant in a corner.
Oh, it scales up beautifully.
The methodology treats different rooms as distinct psychological arenas, and it uses specific geological elements, basically crystals and stones, to program those arenas. It essentially maps the different aspects of your life right onto the floor plan of your house.
It is a brilliant way of illustrating how our environments shape our behavior.
Let's take the contrast between spaces of action and spaces of rest. In a living room, the goal is restoring vital energy after you've been depleted. The programming there involves stimulating stones like carnelian to add invigorating energy paired with red jasper to ground it.
Makes sense for a living space.
But contrast that with the dining room. This isn't just a place to consume calories. It is framed as the knowledge center of the home.
I really love this reframe.
Right. It's the forum where we gather to share wisdom. So the physical anchors suggested here are Chrysocolla, which is historically associated with accessing deep cultural knowledge, and Azurite, for intuitive connection. It completely elevates the function of a simple table.
You are basically transforming a piece of furniture into a site of intellectual exchange. The physical stones just act as visual reminders of that elevated purpose.
But the room that truly highlights the depth of this spatial programming is the bathroom.
Ah, yes. The bathroom is a prime example of unexpected associations.
Yeah.
It is obviously connected to water, cleansing, and renewal. But the profound connection here is that the bathroom is strongly linked to the career aspect of our lives.
Which feels entirely counterintuitive to me. I mean, career and the bathroom sink are not two things I would ever naturally link.
No, most people wouldn't. But it makes perfect sense when you consider the psychology of forward momentum. Career isn't just about where you type on your laptop, right? It's about your life path.
Oh, I see.
The bathroom is the place where you wash away the dirt of yesterday and renew yourself for tomorrow. It is the ultimate space of daily transformation. The methodology suggests placing sodalite in this room to help reveal your ideal career path and black onyx to help manifest it.
Wait, why black onyx specifically?
Because of how human beings process visual weight. Black onyx is a dense, opaque, heavy stone. It visually absorbs light rather than reflecting it.
Okay.
Psychologically, dark, heavy objects represent gravity, permanence, and grounding. When you are trying to manifest something as massive as a career shift, you don't want light, airy, floating energy. You want something that anchors your ambition into reality.
That is so deeply psychological.
It really is. If we connect this to the bigger picture, this philosophy demonstrates that every single square inch of a home can be optimized for personal growth. You aren't decorating, you are programming your environment to passively support your life goals.
Programming the environment, that's powerful. But I mean, a perfectly programmed space is ultimately just a museum display until you actually step inside and use it, right?
100%.
So the final crucial step is turning the architecture into a living practice. And this is done by activating the space through ritual.
Because the magic doesn't live in the stones or the candles.
Right.
It lives in the consistent behavioral patterns you bring to them.
Exactly. And the methodology details the absolute necessity of opening and closing rituals. This basically creates a temporal boundary around your sacred time, mirroring the physical boundary you built around the space.
Yes, time needs a boundary too.
The mechanics are simple but really deliberate. To open, you light a candle, ring a bell, take 3 deep breaths, and speak a designated phrase like, I am entering my sacred space.
Nice and simple.
And to close, you extinguish the candle, offer thanks, take 3 deep breaths, and say, I carry this peace with me.
It functions exactly like a psychological toggle switch. The sequence of actions, the strike of the match, the sound of the bell, the specific phrase, creates a ritualized runway for your brain to land on.
And there are various applications for this time once you're in there, like a grounding ritual where you visualize stress sinking into the earth, or a manifestation ritual where you write down goals if they are already realized while holding an amplifying stone like clear quartz,
Right.
or even a creative ritual where you simply do a breathing exercise to silence your inner critic before sketching or writing. But, and I have to ask this for the listeners, if you are listening to this after a grueling 10-hour workday,
Oh, I know where this is going.
The idea of doing a 20-minute multi-step manifestation ritual probably just sounds like another exhausting chore on an endless to-do list. Does the space just sit there, making you feel guilty for not using it?
No, definitely not. That is where the rule of consistency becomes a total lifeline.
Okay, good.
The framework explicitly states that 5 to 10 minutes a day is infinitely more powerful than a sporadic hour-long session. It is entirely about building a neural pathway.
So it's about frequency, not duration.
Exactly. If you are exhausted, if your motivation is absolute zero, the most powerful act you can take is simply showing up. You do not have to do a deep visualization.
Really?
Really. The simple physical act of crossing the boundary, sitting in the space, and doing a 2-minute check-in with your breath. That is the practice. The consistency of crossing the threshold fulfills the intention.
Showing up is the practice. I love that. So what does this all mean? When we look at the entire architecture, the meticulous intention setting, the physical decluttering, the acoustic and energetic clearing, the purposeful anchoring with elements, and the daily toggle switch of ritual, it becomes clear that a sacred space is not an escape from reality.
No, not at all.
It is a highly practical, scientifically grounded tool. It is a physical manifestation of your inner world, engineered to give you empowerment and profound presence in an otherwise chaotic environment.
It is a remarkable tool.
Yeah.
And, it leaves us with an interesting paradox to consider.
Oh.
Yeah. The entire foundation of this deep dive has been the absolute necessity of boundaries, right? Drawing a strict line, separating the sacred from the mundane, and carefully cultivating peace in this one specific hyper-controlled corner of your home.
Right.
But the ultimate goal of a mindfulness practice is not to permanently compartmentalize your peace.
Oh, wow. I see where you're going.
So the question becomes, if you successfully engineer this boundary, and you diligently practice cultivating profound intention in this one small spot, what happens over time?
Yeah.
What happens when that concentrated emotional regulation inevitably starts to bleed out, blurring the boundary you worked so hard to establish, and slowly transforming the messy, mundane spaces of your entire life into something sacred?
What a beautiful thought to end on, truly. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you take a moment today to look around your own home and find that one corner waiting to be transformed. Until next time.